urges Vietnam to resume international flights. Soaring temperatures force Vietnamese farmers to cultivate rice at night. Vietnamese lychee arrived in Japan's supermarkets. Rice exports price lowest in 2 months. 2 Vietnamese universities made it to the QS rankings. Hello and welcome to FBNC News with latest updates from Vietnam. I'm Yến Trần. According to Nikkei, Europe is the next region that urges Vietnam to resume international flights as the country has basically controlled the COVID-19 pandemic and is a strong investment point for companies trying to diversify their supply chains.
Nicolas Audiers, chairman of the European Chambers of Commerce in Vietnam, called on Hanoi to authorize and issue visas, letting foreigners enter the country when he spoke with the Nikkei Asian Review in Ho Chi Minh City, the southern commercial hub of the communist-led country, on Friday. Hanoi currently permits foreigners to leave Vietnam and allows the entry of commercial planes with Vietnamese passengers returned from Europe. But standard Europe to Vietnam flights are not expected to resume until 2021. Recently, the National Assembly in Hanoi approved a free trade agreement with the European Union on June 8, making Vietnam the second Southeast Asian nation to have such a treaty with the European bloc after Singapore. The EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement is set to take effect as early as August this year.
Farmers of a village on the outskirts of Hanoi are now resorting to planting rice at night in order to avoid increasingly hot temperatures during the day.
The capital city of Vietnam has been suffering a long-lasting heat wave since the beginning of June, with temperatures reaching up to 40 degrees Celsius at times. Farmers at the Tam Thanh commune have been getting up as early as 2 a.m. for nightly rice planting for the past few weeks.
Thời tiết vừa rồi là nó nắng gắt quá, kéo dài quá, dân tình nếu ra cấy ban ngày là không được bao nhiêu. Thì anh dân tình tổ chức là rổ mạ khéo rổ ban ngày thì đêm cấy. Độ 1 giờ, 2 giờ sáng thì đi cấy cho nó đạt hiệu quả hơn. Không nếu ban ngày cấy thì 7-8 giờ nó nắng quá không chịu được. Đấy, bây giờ vẫn nắng. Mỗi một năm tăng lên 1-2 độ làm gì mà mát được hơn. Thế cho nên là nắng nóng thì phải kéo dài hơn. Làm gì mà nhiệt độ của mình là vùng nhiệt đới thì chắc là mỗi năm nó nâng lên 1-2 độ thì bao giờ nó nóng hơn. Chứ làm gì nó mát được như ngày xưa thì cây cối nó nhiều nó đỡ hơn. Bây giờ thì có cây cối gì đâu.
Although their productivity has been reduced to half the original amount due to the darkness, they can work for longer hours than they can in the daytime heat. Farmers at Tam Thanh also said planting at night prevents rice crops from withering easily in the daytime heat.
Năm lúc này con là nói là cấy để đủ ăn thôi. Còn như bây giờ thì không như ngày trước được. Ngày trước là dựa hết cả vào nông dân, nhưng bây giờ mình là không dựa nữa. Mà bây giờ toàn đa số làm ngoài. Chẳng qua mình làm này là thứ nhất là giữ đất, hai là cấy thế thóc ăn thôi. Còn nói chung mà để mà thu nhập mà để mà bán hay là như nào thì ít lắm chả ai làm. Nhiều nhà bây giờ còn bỏ ruộng.
Nhưng để bây giờ mà phơi nóng như ngày xưa thì chắc chắn không phơi được. Khó khăn không vặt được. Nhờ phải máy móc hết. Cũng may chứ có gì. Bây giờ mà không có máy móc bây giờ thì nếu mà cấy như ngày xưa, gặt như ngày xưa chắc chắn là bỏ hết đồng. Nó nóng quá.
Vietnam reportedly experienced its highest temperature on record last year at 43.4 degrees Celsius in Hà Tĩnh province in central Vietnam. The Vietnam's National Center for Hydrometeorological Forecasting said many parts of the country were suffering new heat waves this year, though temperatures so far were below last year's record highs.
On June 22nd, Aeon Company Limited started selling lychee or vải thiều imported from Vietnam at its supermarkets and trade centers all over Japan. Although the price is pretty high, 537 yen or nearly 120,000 Vietnamese dong for a box of 9 lychees, but this specialty was quickly sold out.
Earlier, on June 20th, the first batch of Vietnamese lychees arrived in Japan by air. After that, these batches of lychees were delivered to Aeon supermarkets, wholesale markets of Vietnam corporations, U Fruit and Sunrise Farm for sale. The next batches will be shipped to Japan by sea.
僕食べてみましたけれども美味しかったですよ。で甘いし、そしてさっきも宮内さん話をしてたんですが、大好きな中の種の大きさでクオリティ。
According to the Vietnamese ambassadors in Japan, Mr. Vũ Hồng Nam, in the near future, the embassies will coordinate with the authorities to export Vietnamese longans and many other fruit to the Japanese market.
Higher rice supply in the domestic market has made the export price of Vietnam's broken rice drop to $450 per ton on June 19, the lowest level in the past 2 months.
Domestic rice supplies is increasing due to harvesting the summer-autumn rice crop. Vietnam can export 2.3 to 2.5 million tons of rice from this rice crop after ensuring sufficient domestic consumption. According to the General Department of Customs, Vietnam in the first 5 months of this year gained growth in volumes and values of rice export compared to the same period last year. Specifically, rice export surged by 12% in volume to 3 million tons and by 26.6% in values to $1.5 billion, while the average export price rose by 13% to $485 per ton. In May, the nation shipped more than 953,000 tons of rice, earning $492.5 billion, while the average export price reaches at $516 per ton. They were up 87% in volumes, 93.6% in values, and 3.6% in price compared to April. During the first 5 months, Vietnam exported the most rice to the Philippines with a total volumes of 1.3 million tons. Rice exports to the Philippines accounted for about 41% of the national rice export volumes and about 40% of the national rice export values. China was the second largest market with an export volumes of more than 429,000 tons.
Deputy Prime Minister Trung Hoa Bình said at a reception in Hanoi on Tuesday for Nate Easter, Executive Vice President of Techonic Industries or TTI, that Vietnam supports TTI's projects in Vietnam and wants the group to collaborate with Vietnamese departments and localities to lure more investment from businesses into the country.
TTI is one of the leading suppliers of electric equipment and household appliances with 12 plants worldwide. 76% of its products are supplied to the United States and Northern Europe. Mr. Nate Easter, TTI's vice president, said that they plan to invest $650 million on cordless power equipment factories in Ho Chi Minh City's high-tech park. Construction is expected to complete in third quarter 2020. TTI also plans to start an R&D center to attract around 2,000 engineers and research experts in IT and manufacturing fields. In long-term investment projects, TTI expects in the next 2 years, they will attract about 180 to 200 local enterprises to become suppliers for their supply chains to generate a combined revenues of $2.5 billion per year.
On the morning of June 24th, Kakaroli Simons or QS, an education organization based in the UK, officially announced the results of the world's best university found within the past 50 years. 2 Vietnamese national universities made it into the list.
2 national Vietnamese universities in 2021 Top 50 Under 50 rankings by the QS at Hanoi National University and Ho Chi Minh City National University. The latter was placed on the 101st position last year, while this is the former's first time appearance on this ranking. In this year's ranking, both Vietnamese national universities were placed on the 101st position. This ranking is for young universities with top quality education.
In order to create more public corners for children to play in Ho Chi Minh City, its Communist Youth League organization has begun to build playgrounds across the city, especially in the outskirts where these places are lacking. Among those is a spectacular and interesting playground designed from recycled materials.
This small playground is located at Cây Sộp People's Committee in Tân An Hội Ward. The fact that all its items and categories are made directly there from scrap by amateur engineers is what makes this playground special. Through detailed shaping, decorating and coloring processes, old tires, empty bottles, plastic bowls and boxes are transformed into useful, engaging and colorful toys such as swings, seesaws, slides and chairs.
Vật liệu thì cũng có thể là vừa xin với lại mua lại đồ cũ ở những cái tiệm sửa chữa xe này nè. Rồi về thì các bạn nam, đa phần là các bạn nam sẽ cắt rồi tạo hình suy nghĩ dựa trên những cái vật liệu có sẵn.
The number of playgrounds made from recycled materials are growing, especially in the outskirts of Ho Chi Minh City. Volunteers have transformed areas such as public, unoccupied land and landfills into playgrounds and parks. The playground in Bình Hưng Hòa, Bình Tân District has become an interesting spot for children to gather after school.
Con có thể vui chơi ở đây nhiều hơn, con học được rất là nhiều thứ ở đây. Chủ yếu là bảo vệ môi trường.
Làm lên như vậy thì thấy nó cũng sạch sẽ, cũng mát, cũng thoáng, cũng nhành chỗ chơi cho trẻ nhỏ chơi là để ngoài đường khỏi phải xe cộ.
Playgrounds will help children to have more fun, become more energetic and develop their physical and mental health. These spectacular ones also carry positive messages and education about protecting the environment so that children can build up their awareness from a very young age.
Thông qua các sân chơi thì cũng mong muốn được các em là nâng cao cái ý thức và tích cực sử dụng các sản phẩm tái chế để phục vụ lại cái đời sống của mình để bảo vệ cái môi trường trong xanh hơn.
There have been 15 of these playgrounds established within the last 2 years in Ho Chi Minh City.
Early this week in Ngọc Hiển province, the Department of Culture, Sports and Tourism of Cà Mau has hosted an event announcing sesarmid crab pickling as a culturally intangible and national heritage. This is the traditional art linked with the famous sesarmid crab sauce, a local specialty.
Cà Mau is an area with many distinct specialties, including the sesarmid crab pickle. Also known as sesarmid crab sauce, this dish represents all the characteristics and features of food culture by the people living in the south area of the country. The reason for this does not only lies in their special love for sauces, but also from their authentic life when they first excavated their land. After quite some time, now many provinces are practicing the art of pickling sesarmid crabs, such as Nam Cang, Đầm Dơi or Phú Tân. However, the Rạch Gốc area in the Ngọc Hiển province is still the one that provides the most special sesarmid crabs for making sauces. This art is preserved through many generations living in the Cà Mau's mangrove areas and sees many variations in the process of making the sauce. Still, what remains are the traditional principles and the unique flavor, which helps establishing the trademark of the famous food specialty in Cà Mau. In order to preserve the creations that reflects the unique characteristics of the people living here, the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism has certified the Ngọc Hiển art of sesarmid pickling as a culturally intangible and natural heritage. This provides the encouragement for people to preserve and evolve the art to reach the market and contribute to the country's economic development with a view to preserving and protecting the national resources and products of the mangrove forests.
A tourism-based CNN site introduced the list of best Asian dishes made of rice noodles that tourists visiting Vietnam must try. Bún riêu and cao lầu, two Vietnamese dishes, proudly appeared on this list.
Hanoi bún riêu crab-based vermicelli soup can leave a long-lasting impression on those having tried it. This tasty dish is full of toppings such as crab-based, snail, fried tofu, tomatoes, beef, and head cheese. It's usually served with raw vegetables and is sold across a multitude of restaurants, both casually and lavishly. The other dish on the list is called cao lầu. This is a dish that represents the Quảng food culture and a to-go choice for many tourists visiting Hội An, the ancient city located in Quảng Nam. A typical cao lầu consists of noodles, char siu, deep-fried pork skins, raw vegetables, and so on. It is served with broth seasoned with 5 spices that gives out a distinctive, greasy, and sweet flavor. This spectacular and outstanding tastiness plays a role in the uniqueness of the Chinese-originated dishes in Hội An. You will feel the chewiness and thickness of the noodles, the rich flavors of char siu, and the delicious broth when you have cao lầu. Aside from Vietnamese dishes, the famous Pad Thai from Thailand, spicy fried noodles from Malaysia and Singapore, and Yunnan's rice noodles also made it to the list.
And that has wrapped up our program for today. Thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.